Mary had a little lamb.
From the classiest radio station on the air, this is...
Welcome to the Black Rabbit's Curse, where every shadow hides a sinister verse. Hear the airs thick with dread and tales of terror twist in your head into the dark unknown, where fear takes root and chills the bone. Beware, dear traveler, for once you're here, the curse may linger year after year. Silent footsteps. Jack woke up to the sound of footsteps in the hallway. They were slow, deliberate, each step accompanied by a faint creak of the old wooden floor. His bedroom door, slightly ajar, swayed gently as if nudged by an unseen breeze. The clock on his nightstand blinked 3:12 a.m. in harsh red light, but the power had been out all day due to a storm. Oh, Jack called out, his voice barely a whisper. The signs followed felt oppressive, like the house was holding its breath. He swung his legs over the bed and stood shivering. His bare feet touched the icy floorboards. A strange heaviness pressed down on him, making every step feel like a wading through deep water. He opened the door, stepped into the hallway, his breath cloudy in the air, stagnant air. The hallway stretched longer than it should have. He paused, frowning. The light fixture above him flickered faintly, casting eccentric shadows that seemed to move on their own. Mom? Dad? He called out, louder this time, his voice shaky. No answer. He moved down the hallway, past a large mirror hanging on the wall. Something made him stop and turn to look at it. His stomach dropped. There was no reflection. The mirror showed the hallway behind him, dimly lit with a flickering light, but Jack wasn't there. His shadow wasn't even cast across the floor. A cold, clammy panic creeped up his spine. He reached out, touched the mirror, but the surface was icy and rippled unnaturally beneath his fingers like water.
No.
He whispered, stepping back. Suddenly, a faint sound broke the silence. A whisper, soft and indirect. It seemed to come from the living room. The whisper grew louder, a low murmur that swirled around him, a full, unaudible words spoken by voices that didn't belong to anyone he knew. He stumbled into the living room, clutching his chest as his heart raced. His parents were sitting on the couch, their faces pale and drawn. They were holding hands, their eyes fixated on a framed photograph sitting on a coffee table.
Wow. Dad, something's wrong with me.
Jack shouted, his voice cracking, but they didn't respond. They didn't even look up at him. Jack approached the table, trembling. The photograph caught his attention. Immediately, in it, his parents stepped beside a gravesite, their faces contorted with grief. Jack's heart dropped as he saw his own face smiling back at him from a framed portrait. On the headstone, his name was sketched in stone, along with a date. Yesterday's date.
No.
He choked, backing away.
Is it real?
The whispers grew around him louder, swirling in an inaudible company. Shadows began to creep along the walls, growing and twisting and forming impossible shapes that seemed to reach for him. His knees buckled as a memory surfaced, sharp and vivid. The rain had been pouring in the sheets that night, blurring the road ahead. He remembered gripping the wheel, laughing at something his friend had said, the music blaring too loud to think. Then headlights, blinding, enormous, defending screech of metal, shattering of glass, and a jolt that sent the world spinning. Jack's stomach turned and he recalled the sensation of weightlessness. The car flipped over and over, and then nothing.
No.
He whispered, tears streaming down his face.
I can't be.
Behind him, footsteps echoed impulsively, slow and deliberate. He turned and froze at the edge of the room and stood, a figure cloaked in darkness. Its form barely human, its eyes grow faintly empty and hollow, its mouth stretched open and crooked, unnaturally grin. The figure's shadow stretched across the room, impossibly long, crawling towards him.
You shouldn't be here.
Its rasp, its voice like dry leaves scraping against stone. Jack stumbled back, his legs trembling.
Please.
He begged.
I didn't mean for this to happen. I want to see them again.
The figure tilted its head, studying him like a predator, deciding whether to strike. Slowly, it raised one long skeletal hand and pointed towards the couch. Jack turned, and his heart broke. His mother was sobbing now, clutching the necklace he had given her for her birthday, her shoulders shaking violently. His father sat motionless, staring at nothing, his voice pale and hollow.
I'm sorry.
Jack whispered through, though he knew they couldn't hear him.
I didn't mean for this to happen. I didn't mean to leave you.
The figure moved closer, the air growing colder with every step. Jack felt his body grow heavier, his limbs like lead as the darkness surrounded him.
Time to go.
It hissed, its voice cutting through air like a blade. The shadow reached out and touched Jack's chest. The world dissolved around him, the whispers rising into a deafening roar before fading into silence. The last thing Jack saw was a photograph on a coffee table, his parents crying over his grave, and behind him, a dark figure standing watch. And then there was nothing.
Sit here.
Silent
Story
footsteps.
scene, eyes wide open. Remember, the terror doesn't end when the video does. You may try to forget, But the shadows have a way of following. The whispers grow louder each night, don't they? So go ahead, close your eyes, if you dare. But know this, you're not alone. Not anymore. But the Black Rabbit's curse has seen you, and it's waiting. So what happens when the lights go out? If you want to find out, make sure you come back. But next time, will you be ready? Sleep well. Or don't.